European Member of Parliament Christine Anderson is coming to Canada, and she's got a lot to say about Justin Trudeau and how he treated Canadians. I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid, and you're watching The Gun Show. This free episode of The Gun Show is brought to you by...
Episodes here for Rebel News. You know, our company is growing quickly, and we'd actually like for your company to grow too. That's why this ad space that I'm speaking through right now is actually available for you to purchase. So instead of people listening to me, they could actually be learning about your company, learning about your business. If this interests you, if this is an opportunity you'd like to capitalize on, send us an email at ads@rebelnews.com.
Prime Minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this House at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
That woman right there is Christine Anderson. She's a conservative European Member of Parliament, and she cares about civil liberties and freedom and accountability. And she was very outspoken against Justin Trudeau and how he treated Canadians when they stood up to his government over his COVID mandates. Now, Christine's coming to Canada to meet with the people that she says inspired the world to stand up against COVID tyranny. Those people are Canadians, which is one thing that Justin Trudeau has never done, and that was meet with Canadians who stood up to tyranny. Now, the tour is called What Would Christine Anderson Do? And I can't wait for her to land here. You can get details at www.cadtour.com. Now, joining me now is European Parliament MP Christine Anderson in an interview we recorded earlier. Take a listen. This free episode of The Gun Show is brought to you by...
my mug. I know, it's pretty cool. So is this hoodie I got on, and you could have it on too if you check out our special website at rebelnewsstore.com. That's where you can see Freedom Focus hoodies that we have for you, beanies, cell phone cases, you name it, all while supporting our journalism, where we fight to bring you the other side of the story, as opposed to, being forced by the Trudeau government to fund leftist media out of your taxes. The truth is, without you and your generosity, there is no Rebel News. So again, if you like the reports that we bring you and that we also fight for freedoms in Canada, please consider doing some shopping, picking up some swag at rebelnewsstore.com. We appreciate your support.
Joining me now is Christine Anderson. She's a member of the European Parliament for the Alternative for Germany Party. And Christine, you're on your way to Canada. Why are you coming to Canada?
I'm finally coming to Canada, and I'm really looking forward to finally doing this. I will have to say, over the past 2 years, I have really grown fond of Canada, of the Canadians, because what we saw was actually Canada, out of all countries, so it was pretty much, the free country, just seeing that once free country is being turned into a totalitarian regime, pretty much, where people's livelihoods are threatened, where bank accounts are frozen, just because people, exercise their right to assembly and free speech. So that was really. And, once again, if you understand the mechanisms that are in place when doing that, but yet the Canadian truckers, they just stood up and they just said, no, we're not going to put up with this. We will fight for our rights and our fundamental rights and our freedom. And that takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery. And that is so, I was so impressed by that. And then also think about, that spark that, was sent out by the Canadian truckers. It traveled all over the world, and it pretty much, set a power, into place where people finally started to wake up, to stand up, and to not take it anymore, and to see the ones that were brave enough to put a stop to this and stand up. And I'm really excited, meeting lots of people who are, the bravest people in the world, in my book.
Yeah, it was interesting as a Canadian to, people think of us as passive, we're nice, I think is how the rest of the world perceives us. But we stood up to a government that was doing their best to crush us. As a Canadian, I was really proud to see the protest movement it set off across the world. A truck convoy was a symbol of freedom in Australia and in Holland and in places across Europe and even in the United States. It's not normally that we lead the people in the United States to a protest movement, but we had. Do you have some time set aside during your tour to meet with the truckers, some truckers?
I will absolutely do whatever I have to do, yes, to meet those people, because that's why I'm going there. That's why I'm coming, because I want to see the people that understand what it takes to stand up for fundamental rights and to defend your freedom.
You've been quite a critic of Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Oh, have I?
And I think the outside of the world sort of either perceives him as a bit of an idiot or nice to a fault. But his reaction to the Freedom Convoy exposed him, I think, to the rest of the world as the totalitarian many Canadians know he is. Do you think that's an accurate assessment? Do you think the world is sort of changing their opinion on Justin Trudeau?
They still believe that he was actually fighting terrorists and that, he had a right to freeze their bank accounts and that he had a right to threaten their livelihoods. But things are changing, and you will see even a lot of elected representatives, once things change and they are no longer sure that people will actually vote for them, they will change very quickly, and they will forget whatever they said yesterday, and they will try to pass themselves off as the ones that have always said it and always known it. But I think the people have gotten a feeling for lies like that. And luckily nowadays we do have the technology. And if anyone claims I've always been saying this and I've always been fighting this, you can look it up. And that's what we're also working on, to have a record of who said what at what point, and just to document that. And anyone, trying to lie to the people now and saying we've always said this and we had always been on your side. No, I just go, no, look here, that's you, isn't it? You said this and you were for it, and so it's not going to work anymore. And this is a very important part of my work that I'm devoted to. Even I will make sure that the people will never forget who it was who imposed these restrictions on them, and who was pretty much, trying to turn their countries into totalitarian regimes.
Now, that's a great lead in to something I wanted to ask you about, because you're doing something in the European Parliament that we are not doing in Canada, and I can't, in the foreseeable future, see us doing that. And that is to hold the decision makers to account, or at least undergo an official examination of the handling of COVID. Because of Justin Trudeau's stranglehold on power, I don't think there will ever be an examination, at least while he's in charge, of what he did to Canadians. But in the European Parliament, folks like you are doing your best to get all the facts on the table and not allow people to rewrite their own history of what they did to the public.
We are a minority trying to do what you just described. We were so compelling, and we were gathering all of that information. In the beginning, it was really just questioning things. And the people, they just were like, what? She is just questioning something. And that's what we all should be doing. So it didn't really work in the end. But once again, we are in a minority. But we exposed so many things. And I guess we were just kind of stubborn about exposing all of these things. And it did not work in the end. And they're sort of, coming around now, at least pretending to be on our side. But in the background, they're still trying to fight us. But we, like I said, we keep going, and we will continue to keep going. And there's just been 2 decisions that have been made in COVID committee. Number one is since CEO Pfizer, Albert Bourla, has now refused twice to show up in committee and answer our questions. He didn't have any problems with taking billions of taxpayers' money. So it was voted on, and there's a majority in COVID committee. Then we will move to have their granted access revoked to EU Parliament. So any Pfizer, if it goes through finally, any representative Pfizer will no longer be allowed in EU Parliament as they wish. So that's one thing. And I just say, what Bourla demonstrated, it was just utter contempt and disregard for the people that he pushed his stupid vaccines on.
It's so important to get this sort of stuff on the record. I think when we look back in 20 and 40 years at the catastrophe that the globe underwent because of an overreaction to COVID and Big Pharma seeing it as an opportunity to line their pockets, people's health be damned. It's so important that this is on the record and that, they are not able to rewrite history. And it's happening so fast. When they said, we never said that COVID stops the spread or that the vaccine stops the spread of COVID. They said it on the record for 2.5 years, and yet they think you're hard of remembering 9 months later. It's very bizarre, but it is happening so fast.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I'm actually kind of glad that Bourla did decline to show up in our committee, because the representative he sent in his place was actually that lady who was stupid enough to admit to that they never even tested on that. And I'm pretty sure Bourla might not have made that mistake. So I'm kind of glad he did send whoever he did send. And that she actually said what she did.
Now, I wanted to ask you about something else that just happened in your country as we're recording this. It happened, I believe it was yesterday. Little Greta Thunberg was arrested outside of a German coal mine protesting. It looks like it was completely staged, all for the cameras. She's 80 pounds and she's got 4 cops hauling her away and she's smiling and looking right at the cameras. I'd like your opinion of this, because I think the reason Germans are in an energy crisis is because of the policies of the likes of Greta Thunberg. Green energy policies made Germany reliant on Russia. Whatever you think about Russia, Germany has its own coal and should be, energy independent by and large.
Well, first of all, Greta Thunberg, she doesn't know what the heck she's talking about. When she started out her crusade against whatever, it was all fossil fuels and no nuclear power and all of this. She condemned all of this. A year ago, or maybe not even, maybe 7-8 months ago, she suddenly changed her tune, in light of the events that happened when Putin invaded Ukraine. She changed her tune into, Germany should have never shut down or turned off their nuclear power plants. So she doesn't even know what the hell she's talking about.
As you look at footage of her being arrested, it's very clear that the police are actors in this play also, either wittingly or unwittingly. They're just props in this Greta Thunberg production.
Right, exactly. Well, see, like I said, this is just the thing. If the police are in the process of making an arrest, they will not stop suddenly and make sure that the cameras got it right and, that whatever. No, this is not how it works. So I'm not quite clear on if these were actually police officers who were kind enough to stop for a moment to make sure that the camera was rolling. But it is a fact, this whole thing was staged to get more publicity or whatever. And, then the public would be all, poor Greta, they can, arrest her, da-da-da-da. Like I said, it's a big scam. That's what it is.
Now, you've also been quite a critic of green energy in general. I look at the cost of living and really the effects of energy poverty in Germany. And a lot of that has to do with the decommissioning of the coal mines and the decommissioning of cheap, affordable nuclear energy, which, if you are like Greta Thunberg, doesn't produce any greenhouse gas emissions if you care about those sorts of things. But there's also this knock-on effect of now forcing people into green cars that you can't afford.
I mean, California is already on brownouts as we speak. And what about infrastructure, especially in metropolitan areas? You have millions of people there. How will you be able to make sure that everyone has a chance to charge their cars without having to get up like 3-4 times during the night? Once their car has been charged, they have to remove it to make room for someone else who needs to charge their car. It's absurd what they're trying to do, but it's just another way of pushing their agenda of having this elite world where, the rich live whatever life they want to live and pretty much have a slave people who have to provide for, their comfort and whatever they want to do. So.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the elites because that's the last and final thing I wanted to talk to you about. Right now, in Davos, Switzerland, the World Economic Forum is happening. I sent a journalist out this morning to look for the bugs because they won't shut up about me wanting to eat bugs.
I know.
I live in the land of beef, but they want us to eat bugs. So I sent a journalist out onto the streets. I said, find me the bugs. If they want me to eat bugs, I want to see them eating bugs. And he can't seem to find any because, as you say, there's a slave class. We're the slave class and they are the elites.
Exactly. And what I'm looking at here right now is just a legislation that will go into effect January 24th. So 2 weeks from now? Not even, a couple of days. So the EU Commission licensed a company to actually sell insects in their food. It just has to be, declared whatever, and it's called this new nutrition and whatever. So this is going on, and I'm telling you, I would bet everything I have, we are going to be the ones eating bugs, but they will continue to have their yummy steaks and whatever high price, even high quality. Yeah, but they want us to live like in servitude. That's their idea. They want to come driving around anymore. It's a nuisance. I mean, the streets are blocked. You have traffic jams and all of that. They want to ride their cars, but you're not supposed to. And you're not supposed to jet around the world. That will be reserved for only them. But the really treacherous thing about it, though, is they're trying to sell it off to the people. You have to do this. We have to save the planet. And that's we have to save the planet. But guess what? It's you have to save the planet while I do whatever the heck I want. That's pretty much their game, and that's what they're aiming for. And I just seriously hope that people will finally catch on to that scheme and that they will simply stop doing whatever they're asked to do.
Yeah, it's really interesting to watch them enforce these policies because if they can't make you a true believer by scaring the daylights out of you that the earth is going to end in 12 years or 8 years or whatever our doomsday clock is at these days, then they get you on the other side by making the food you need too expensive through their nitrogen policies, as what we've seen happening in Holland, where, you've got to basically end certain farming practices, shutter certain lands to farming, which dries up the cost of meat and dairy for normal people. So even if you don't believe in global warming, you still can't eat the meat you want to eat because of global warming policies.
Right? I mean, everyone needs food. If you have control over food supply, you have people pretty much at your mercy. You can do with them whatever the heck you want. And they do that by shutting down farms, telling them you cannot, farm your land anymore. But we don't want to punish you. It's for your own good. We want to save the planet because we're the good guys. So, I mean, the gaslighting going on, especially in the last 2 years. I mean, it's been going on for quite some time, but the extent and the magnitude of gaslighting going on and trying to fool people into thinking they just have to do whatever the government tells them to, that's terrifying. It's really terrifying.
Now, I know you're on a very tight timeline today. How do people get more information about your tour? And when do you land in Canada? When does it start?
Okay, so I will, I think I land on the 18th. And I hope you can put in the website where you get all the information of my tour, where I will be at what time and what I'm going to be doing there. And I'm really looking forward to coming to Canada. And I will make it a point to speak and to see as many people as possible. And I'm not talking about politicians. I'm not talking about, some high-ranking whatever. I'm coming to see the people because I'm doing this for the people. So these are the ones I want to see.
Well, Christine, I want to thank you so much for your advocacy for normal Canadians and your willingness to meet with them because, as you know, Justin Trudeau never did. He simply maligned them. He libeled them. He called them names instead of just walking out of his front door when they were in Ottawa and actually speaking to the people. So you're doing one thing that our Prime Minister didn't even do for us. So I thank you so much. And thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you so much.
This free episode of The Gun Show is brought to you by
Episodes here for Rebel News. Our company is growing quickly, and we'd actually like for your company to grow too. That's why this ad space that I'm speaking through right now is actually available for you to purchase. So instead of people listening to me, they could actually be learning about your company, learning about your business. If this interests you, if this is an opportunity you'd like to capitalize on, send us an email at ads@rebelnews.com.
Again, for tickets and tour details of Christine Anderson's visit to Canada, just go to www.cadtour.com. So that stands for What Would Christine Anderson Do? Tour.com. I cannot wait to see the crowds come out to see her. Well, everybody, this is a portion of the show where we welcome your viewer feedback. Unlike the mainstream media, we actually care about what you think about the work that we're doing here at Rebel News. And so I give out my email address at sheila@rebelnews.com. Drop me a line, put Gun Show Letters in the subject line so it's really easy for me to find, or leave a comment on Rebel or YouTube. Sometimes I go looking over there too. So wherever you find us, drop us a line. You might end up on the show. So today's letter comes from regular viewer, Rebel News super supporter, Bruce Atchison. I think he's out in Radway, Alberta, home of a very great military surplus store that I can never seem to get to, but I would like to get there, at least before spring, before camping season. Anyways, Bruce writes, what a great interview you did on tonight's show. That was the interview with Chris Sims from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, who is a new Albertan, but an Alberta evangelist. Now, she loves it here. It's like she's never not been here. She's just like one of us, and I'm so glad that she's one of us. Anyways, Bruce writes, I wish I could ask Chris Sims why she likes keeping carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. I don't know if she does. I don't know. I'm not sure she said that. We need more of that life-giving gas. It's no sin of omission to let that plant food do its God-given task. Now, I think Chris made the argument for if you want to keep greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere, there are better ways to do that than taxing people. If that is the intended purpose. I'm not sure if she made an argument against greenhouse gases in general. I think she's against pollution, but I'm not sure she sees carbon dioxide as a pollution. Again, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I'm pretty sure she believes that taxes don't change the weather. Anyway, I'd also love to ask Chris if she thinks sales taxes are an admission of government incompetence. Governments which implement sales taxes seem to be poor managers of tax money, so they crave more of it. I think that's a condition of every single government. PSTs directly punish the poor. Yes, they do. And giving rebates is inefficient. Some bureaucrat gets paid to decide how much you get or if you're eligible for one. Isn't that the truth? Just don't take the money from me. Why do you have to take the money from me and cycle it through the hands of 100 bureaucrats before I get a bit of it back? Bruce also writes, I'm also of the opinion that disabled folks like me need the protection of a firearm. I'm willing to hear that argument. I just don't think that's an argument for disabled people. I think it's an argument for literally everybody. Well, able-bodied people, people who are smaller than others, people like me. It needn't be a high-powered either. I think it's your choice, Bruce. As long as it stops a bad guy and sends him or her to meet God, then that's good enough. And that's my letter from Bruce with his cat, Delta, who says, stay sane or die trying. Well, everybody, that's the show for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see everybody back here in the same time, in the same place next week. And remember, don't let the government tell you that you've had too much to think.